I was very shy, you know. I'm like, I don't see myself having a boyfriend and not even talking to boys. I was that shy. So I thought of that.
Adriana Lima looked like she had it all: fame, beauty, and success. But what many do not know is that her beauty was not only a gift, it was also a curse. Behind the lights and cameras, she faced criticism, heartbreak, and pressures few could survive. Join us as we uncover the story behind this hidden struggle. Adriana Lima's beauty was powerful enough to stop people in their tracks. Yet that same beauty often turned into a weapon used against her. To the world, she looked flawless, almost untouchable, and many believed no one so perfect could possibly understand ordinary struggles. Over time, this image created an invisible wall between her and the public. People admired her face but questioned her humanity, labeling her as too perfect and unrelatable. For Adriana, this was one of the hardest parts of fame. She worked tirelessly to maintain her career, showing discipline in every choice she made. She followed demanding routines, prepared for shows with unmatched focus, and gave every ounce of energy she had to her profession. Yet her efforts were often dismissed. Many assumed her success came effortlessly because of her looks, as if beauty alone carried her forward. The reality was very different. Behind her glamorous image stood years of sacrifice and hard work, but the public rarely wanted to see that. They believed beauty erased struggle, and so her dedication went unrecognized. As her career grew, the spotlight turned not only to her modeling, but also to her personal beliefs. Adriana was open about being Catholic, and she held her values close to her heart.
I wanted to be a nun.
A nun?
Yeah, nun.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were raised Catholic?
I was raised Catholic. I studied my school years were in Catholic school.
In an industry that often celebrated boldness and freedom, her decision to live by strict principles raised questions. She spoke openly about celibacy before marriage, a choice that was deeply personal to her, yet the world reacted with shock. The idea that one of the most desired women on earth would hold such beliefs felt unusual to many, and the media seized on it. Headlines painted her as strange or contradictory, and critics accused her of being out of touch. Her honesty brought her comfort, but it also made her a target. Feminists questioned her choices, accusing her of feeding into male fantasies, while at the same time guarding her personal boundaries. They argued that by representing the glamorous, seductive image of Victoria's Secret, while preaching restraint in her life, she sent mixed signals. These accusations hurt, not because she doubted herself, but because her sincerity was twisted into something it was not. She was not trying to please anyone's expectations. She was simply living her truth. Yet time and again, her words were taken apart and used against her. The harshest part of this criticism was the constant misunderstanding. Whenever Adriana expressed her thoughts, whether about faith, values, or personal life, they were magnified and often misinterpreted. Instead of seeing a woman with convictions, the world saw contradictions. Instead of respecting her as someone who dared to be different, many chose to judge her. Through it all, Adriana carried herself with grace. She accepted that her beauty, while a gift, came with the cost of constant scrutiny. She faced the reality that being admired by millions also meant being misunderstood by many. Though the world often punished her for not fitting into its expectations, she never abandoned the beliefs that gave her strength. Adriana received fame and success, but she also had to carry the cost that came with it. Adriana Lima's name became a symbol of glamour, but behind the sparkle of her career was a reality very few could see. To stay on top in the modeling world, she carried pressures that were heavier than the wings she once wore on the Victoria's Secret runway. Her beauty was celebrated, but it demanded endless sacrifices. The same gift that opened doors also demanded a price that touched both her body and her spirit. For nearly 2 decades, Adriana lived in an industry where appearance was everything. Every show, every campaign, every photo shoot required her to present the image of perfection. That image did not simply appear on its own. It was shaped by hours of training, strict diets, and routines that left little room for rest. Maintaining her physique was not a choice, it was an expectation. To remain one of the most recognized faces in the world meant living under constant watch, where even the smallest change could bring criticism. Her days were often filled with intense workouts that pushed her body to its limits.
For me, it feels great that I know that I accomplished my intense workout. It takes a lot of discipline to keep up your workout routine, and there are days, yeah.
Cardio sessions, strength training, and endless rehearsals became a normal rhythm of her life. Dieting was even stricter. There were moments when the food she wanted to eat had to be set aside for carefully measured meals designed only to maintain the figure the industry demanded.
I love chocolate cake, and every time I eat it, I just I enjoy so much, but literally right after.
Sometimes, the effort gave results that looked flawless in photos, but behind those images, Adriana often felt drained. Her body bore the strain of routines that left little space for balance, and her mind carried the quiet exhaustion of discipline that never ended. Though the world saw her glowing in front of cameras, there were times when health became a concern. The pressure of maintaining an image led to struggles she rarely shared. Glamorous photo shoots often hid the truth of tired eyes, aching muscles, and the emotional toll of never being allowed to step outside perfection. While others celebrated her as untouchable, Adriana was living the very human reality of being stretched too thin by demands that never paused. As the years passed, another challenge grew stronger: the presence of younger models entering the industry. Fresh faces were constantly introduced, and comparisons became unavoidable. Even with her legacy secure, Adriana had to endure whispers about age in a business that worshipped youth. For someone who had given so much of herself to the runway, it was painful to realize that aging, a natural part of life, was treated like a flaw. Her beauty had once been her crown, but the industry often turned it into a trap, where the fear of being replaced loomed like a shadow. This was the cruel punishment of an industry obsessed with eternal youth. The effort of staying relevant was not just about keeping her body strong, but also about protecting her spirit from doubt. For Adriana, survival meant refusing to let time or criticism define her worth. She understood that while beauty could be fleeting, the strength behind it was not. Her ability to endure, to keep showing up despite the weight of pressure, became her quiet victory. Still, the cost of staying on top could not be ignored. Behind every dazzling runway walk and every breathtaking campaign was a woman who had given more than most people could imagine. She sacrificed comfort for discipline, privacy for fame, and moments of ease for the endless chase of perfection. The public admired her for her beauty, yet rarely understood how much she had to give up to keep that admiration alive. But how did it all begin? What pushed Adriana into the world of fame? Adriana Lima's story begins far away from the glittering lights of fashion runways, in the colorful but often difficult streets of Salvador, Bahia. She was born into a modest home where life was not easy. Her father left when she was very young, and her mother, a devoted woman with strength in her heart, raised her alone. Growing up without a father was not simple, but it shaped Adriana's view of the world. She learned early that she had to depend on her strength, and she saw her mother as both her parent and her hero. Life in Salvador was full of culture, music, and joy, but also struggles. Money was scarce, and Adriana lived through moments of poverty that made her appreciate small blessings. Unlike the glamorous image she would later embody, her childhood was marked by simplicity. She went to school like any other child, played in her neighborhood, and carried dreams that were not tied to fashion at all. In fact, Adriana never imagined herself on a runway. Modeling seemed distant, almost unreal compared to her daily reality. Still, there was something about her that others could not ignore. Her striking looks set her apart from her peers. Even though she was shy, people noticed her bright eyes and graceful presence. Teachers and neighbors often said she looked like she was born for something bigger, though Adriana herself did not see it that way. She entered small beauty contests during her school years, winning without much effort, but she treated them as fun, not as the start of a career. The turning point came when a school friend wanted to join a modeling contest, but felt nervous about entering alone. Out of kindness, Adriana agreed to take part too. Together, they sent in their photos, but to Adriana's surprise, the contest organizers singled her out. She was invited to participate, and her life began to change. At just 15 years old, she joined Ford's Supermodel of Brazil competition. Against many hopefuls, Adriana stood out and won first place. The victory shocked her, but it also opened doors she had never imagined. Soon after, she was chosen to represent Brazil in the Ford Supermodel of the World contest in 1996. There, she shined again, finishing as the runner-up. The recognition brought her global attention, and the fashion world began to whisper her name. For a girl who once thought modeling was just a way to support a friend, this was the beginning of a destiny she could not have predicted. Yet with success came pressure. At such a young age, she was suddenly thrust into the spotlight. Expectations grew heavier, and she had to grow faster than most teenagers. By 16, Adriana was leaving behind her family, her city, and the warmth of Brazil. She moved to New York City, a place completely different from Salvador. The move was exciting, but it was also overwhelming. She barely spoke English and felt the distance from home deeply. The streets, the people, the culture, all of it was new. Loneliness often followed her, but Adriana carried the lessons of her childhood: strength, humility, and determination. Her career, however, moved quickly. In New York, she signed with Elite Model Management, one of the top agencies in the world. From there, her rise seemed unstoppable. She began appearing in major magazines like Vogue and Marie Claire, walking prestigious runway shows for top designers, and gaining a reputation as a model who was more than just a pretty face. She was disciplined, hardworking, and graceful, qualities that made her unforgettable to casting directors and photographers. One of her biggest milestones came when she became the face of Maybelline. The campaign placed her on billboards and commercials worldwide, turning her into a household name. For many people around the world, Adriana was the face they saw when they thought of beauty. Yet despite this sudden fame, she remained grounded, always remembering her roots in Brazil. Her career took another leap forward in 1999 when she first appeared in the Victoria's Secret fashion show. With her striking look, confidence, and presence, Adriana quickly became one of the most recognized angels.
I never thought that I would have a wax figure, that I would be honored that way by being a Victoria's Secret angel. I did take my kids to see it.
That moment marked the beginning of her journey into superstardom. Alongside the fame, what challenges did Adriana have to overcome? When Adriana Lima first stepped onto the Victoria's Secret runway in 1999, the fashion world immediately knew it was witnessing something rare. She was different. Her exotic beauty, with eyes that seemed to hold both mystery and warmth, made her stand out even among the most stunning women in the world. From that moment, she began a journey that would crown her the longest-running angel in the history of the brand, a title she held proudly until 2018. Nearly 2 decades of wearing the wings was an achievement no one could ignore. But while her role as an angel brought her global fame, it also came with a hidden cost. For Adriana, beauty was a blessing that lifted her to unimaginable heights, but it was also a weight that often felt impossible to carry. The wings she wore on the runway symbolized dreams for millions of fans, yet behind them lay the silent struggles of a woman judged every day for the very thing that made her famous. Her beauty was celebrated endlessly. Magazine covers, commercials, and runway shows placed her at the very center of the fashion world. Fans adored her, brands competed for her, and photographers captured her from every angle. But as her fame grew, so did the shadow of objectification. To many, Adriana was more than a model. She was an image, an ideal, a symbol of perfection that people expected her to maintain at all times. It was as if her humanity disappeared behind the glow of her face and figure. The standards placed on Victoria's Secret angels were some of the most demanding in the entire industry. Every detail of Adriana's body was watched, measured, and compared. Fitness routines were strict, diets were carefully monitored, and even the smallest change could spark whispers. To remain an angel was not just about walking gracefully down a runway. It was about carrying the burden of perfection day after day, year after year. Adriana worked tirelessly to meet those expectations. She trained hard, followed disciplined routines, and committed herself completely to her career. But sometimes the effort required to stay at the top drew criticism she could not escape. The most famous example came in 2008 when she revealed the extreme liquid diet she followed before a show. It was meant to explain her dedication, but instead, it brought her a storm of backlash. Many accused her of encouraging dangerous habits, while others claimed she was setting a harmful example for young girls who looked up to her. What she saw as discipline and preparation was twisted into something darker, and the world judged her harshly. This moment revealed the painful double-edged sword of her beauty. She was celebrated for her figure, yet punished for the work it took to maintain it. The very effort that allowed her to shine on stage was turned against her. It was a cruel irony. People demanded perfection from her, but when she showed what it took to reach it, she was criticized. Throughout her years with Victoria's Secret, Adriana also faced accusations that went beyond her personal choices. Critics said the angels promoted an image of beauty that was unattainable for most women. Her slim figure, glowing skin, and flawless walk became a standard that millions compared themselves against, often feeling they fell short. Even though Adriana never asked to be placed on such a pedestal, she carried the blame. Her face became the symbol of an industry accused of unrealistic ideals, and she bore the punishment of judgment she did not deserve. Yet Adriana continued. Show after show, year after year, she stepped onto the runway with confidence and grace. Behind the sparkle of wings and glitter, there was a woman who knew she was giving her best. She carried the weight of both praise and criticism, learning to balance them without letting either destroy her spirit. For fans, she was a dream come to life. For the industry, she was the perfect angel. But for herself, She was a woman navigating the complicated world where beauty was both her gift and her burden. Her Victoria's Secret era became more than just a career milestone. It became a symbol of her strength. If her career carried so many struggles, what about Adriana's love life? Did it face the same battles? For Adriana Lima, love was never simple. Her beauty, admired by millions, opened doors in her career, but made her personal life far more complicated. Every relationship she entered became a story for the world to consume. To her, romance was personal, tender, and fragile. Yet to the public, it was a spectacle. The burden of fame followed her into every corner of her heart, shaping the way her relationships were seen and remembered. In her early years, Adriana's name was linked with famous men who, like her, lived under constant attention. She shared connections with artists and athletes, among them Lenny Kravitz and Derek Jeter. These romances made headlines not only because of who her partners were, but because she herself was already a star admired across the globe. Fans speculated endlessly about her love life, and magazines rushed to capture every detail. What should have been private moments of affection and discovery became public discussions, each relationship framed as a fairy tale or a scandal depending on the lens through which people chose to view it. While these romances brought excitement to gossip columns, they also came with judgment. People wondered if men were drawn to Adriana for who she was, or simply for the beauty that made her famous. Every step she took with a partner was analyzed, every smile photographed, and every separation dissected as though it were a performance. Instead of being allowed to experience love as any woman would, she was forced to live it under a microscope. In 2009, Adriana entered what seemed like her most stable and secure chapter when she married Serbian basketball player Marko Jaric. The union captured the public's imagination. It was seen as a match of equals, one of the world's most admired supermodels and a celebrated athlete. Their wedding marked a moment of happiness, and soon after, they welcomed children into their lives. For many, this was the Adriana they wanted to see. An angel not just on the runway, but in the home, glowing as a wife and mother. The fascination with her marriage was endless. Fans admired her family life, seeing it as another layer of perfection added to her already enviable image. Every photograph of Adriana with her children, every appearance alongside her husband, was painted as evidence of a flawless life. Yet behind the smiles and the beauty, Adriana was still a woman, balancing the complexities of love, family, and fame. The reality of marriage, with its challenges and compromises, could never truly be captured in glossy photos or short headlines. By 2016, the fairy tale image cracked when Adriana and Marko announced their separation. The divorce sent waves across the media, sparking rumors and endless speculation. Some claimed their demanding careers pulled them apart, while others whispered about struggles hidden from the public eye. What mattered to Adriana, however, was not the gossip, but the reality of moving forward as a mother and a woman rebuilding her personal life. The heartbreak was amplified by the public's reaction. Instead of offering understanding, many turned her divorce into entertainment. The same beauty that once made her appear like a dream bride was now used to question her ability to keep love lasting. Some argued her looks attracted too much attention, suggesting that men could not handle the weight of being with someone so admired. Others saw her as unlucky in love, as if beauty was not enough to guarantee happiness. Through it all, Adriana carried herself with dignity, focusing on her children and her path forward. Rumors and controversies continued to surround her, as they often do with women in the spotlight. Every friendship was turned into a possible romance, every appearance analyzed for hidden meaning. Her beauty, instead of giving her privacy, invited curiosity that often bordered on intrusion. Adriana learned that in the world of fame, silence was sometimes her only shield. She let the world talk while she focused on the things that mattered most: her family, her career, and her peace of mind. Perhaps the most difficult part of living through these relationships in the public eye was the struggle to be seen for more than her appearance. To Adriana, love was never about glamour or headlines. It was about connection, respect, and trust. Yet time and again, the media reduced her story to her beauty, as if her partners were with her only for the way she looked. Rarely did the world acknowledge the depth of her character, the kindness she carried, or the strength that made her stand firm through life's challenges. For much of her life, Adriana Lima was praised for her beauty. Her face was on countless magazines, her image walked the most famous runways, and she became a symbol of glamour across the globe. Yet, even as the world admired her, Adriana longed for something deeper. She wanted people to see beyond the perfect photographs and dazzling lights. Her dream was not just to be remembered as the woman with striking eyes and graceful poise, but also as someone with discipline, compassion, and a heart that beat for more than fashion. From the very beginning of her career, Adriana understood the weight of hard work. Her success never came by accident. Behind every show and campaign was a life of discipline. She trained her body, cared for her health, and pushed herself with determination that went far beyond the surface. While the world saw glamour, she lived the reality of sacrifice, dedication, and constant pressure. To her, modeling was not just standing in front of cameras, but a full-time responsibility that required patience and resilience. As she grew in fame, Adriana began to realize that beauty and influence could be used as a bridge toward greater things. She chose to use her platform not only to celebrate herself, but also to lift others. Much of her energy was poured into philanthropy, particularly for children who were less fortunate. She visited orphanages, spent time in children's hospitals, and supported underprivileged communities in her homeland of Brazil. For her, giving back was not about public recognition. It came from a personal place rooted in her childhood struggles and the awareness of how easily lives could change with kindness. She knew how it felt to grow up with little, and that made her determined to bring joy and relief where she could. Yet even as she expanded her identity, Adriana found herself trapped by the very thing that had made her famous. Her beauty, while admired, often became a barrier. People looked at her and stopped there without asking who she was or what she believed in. They called her an angel, a supermodel, an icon, but rarely did they speak of her intelligence, her work ethic, or her values. It was as if her beauty had become both a blessing and a chain, celebrated endlessly but limiting the way the world chose to see her. Still, Adriana did not give up on showing her true self. She continued to let her actions speak. Through her discipline, she proved that success was built on effort, not just on natural charm. How did Adriana get along with other models, and did they have criticisms of her? Adriana Lima's beauty and talent made her one of the most celebrated supermodels in the world, but it also brought challenges she could never escape. In the glamorous world of fashion, admiration often comes with rivalry, and behind the cameras, not every moment was as smooth as it seemed on the runway. Adriana's confidence and strong presence sometimes caused tension with other models who felt she was hogging the spotlight. In a field where every glance and every step is noticed, these feelings could grow quietly, creating an invisible distance between colleagues. Rumors often swirled about her relationship with fellow Brazilian supermodel Gisele Bündchen. Both women were powerhouses in the industry, and comparisons were constant. Fans and media outlets loved to pit them against each other, imagining competition where there might only have been professionalism. For Adriana, this meant living under a lens of constant scrutiny, where every decision and every smile could be interpreted as a statement or a challenge. The pressure to maintain her individuality while being compared to another legend added a subtle weight to her career. Behind the scenes of Victoria's Secret shows, the environment could be competitive and tense. Models prepared intensely for the runway, and the backstage atmosphere was often charged with high emotions. Adriana, known for her discipline and focus, sometimes faced subtle criticism simply for standing firm on her choices. She refused to do shoots or poses that clashed with her values, making clear where her boundaries lay. While this showed integrity, fashion insiders sometimes labeled her as difficult, as if holding personal standards was a flaw rather than a strength. These stances occasionally carried consequences. Certain opportunities slipped away, and brands sometimes chose other faces rather than risk tension or controversy. In an industry where favor and visibility can shift quickly, Adriana learned that even a small act of principle could feel like a punishment. Yet she remained consistent, showing that being true to herself mattered more than temporary approval. After 19 years of dazzling runways, Adriana Lima finally said goodbye to Victoria's Secret in 2018. It was more than just a farewell, it was the end of an era. For nearly 2 decades, she had been one of the most recognizable angels, walking in some of the world's biggest shows and becoming a symbol of beauty, discipline, and grace. The announcement of her retirement stirred emotions everywhere, both for fans who had followed her career and for those who admired the strength it took to maintain such a legendary position. Her final walk was unforgettable. The lights shone brighter than ever, the music swelled, and Adriana moved with the elegance and confidence that had defined her entire career. Behind the scenes, a tribute video celebrated her journey, showing the years of hard work, the countless shows, and the impact she had made on the brand and the fashion world. Watching her take that last step down the runway, many felt the weight of her journey, the beauty, the struggles, and the dedication that had carried her through every challenge. As beautiful and emotional as her farewell was, some debates followed. People wondered if Adriana had chosen to leave gracefully, or if the pressures of age and an industry obsessed with youth had pushed her out. Speculation surrounded her retirement, but Adriana herself stayed focused on what truly mattered, her next steps and her personal growth.
I feel more beautiful than ever. You grow and you mature and you learn so much about yourself. You become wiser as a woman, knowing what you like, what you don't like.
She did not let the whispers distract her from the possibilities ahead. Stepping away from the angel wings opened the door to reinvention. Adriana began exploring new ventures that allowed her to expand her identity beyond modeling. She focused on fitness, developing routines that inspired women to value health and strength. Acting opportunities appeared, giving her a platform to express herself creatively in a new way. She also embraced ambassadorship roles, using her experience and influence to support brands and causes that aligned with her values. For the first time, she could choose projects that reflected her passions, not just what the industry demanded of her. Adriana also began speaking more openly about her mental health and personal beliefs. She shared the struggles she had faced behind the glamorous photo shoots, the moments of pressure, doubt, and exhaustion that few people ever saw. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.